On a good night for Corey Barlow, he stays at a shelter. When he's not so lucky, he sleeps on the street.
You can't do nothing. How can you go search for housing when you got to be here at 3 o'clock? And then if you're not here at 3 o'clock, you don't get no bed.
Barlow is one of millions of Americans who live in poverty. The number of people in his situation is increasing. In a recent study conducted by the United Nations, it reveals that current Trump administration policies are trending away from protecting the interests of the poor in preference to the rich, including food selection in shelters.
I'm Muslim, so some days I have to go without because they serve pork. They don't substitute it. You know what I'm saying? So some days it's hard for me.
Barlow's experience is not uncommon for members of the U.S. homeless population. Statistics indicate that African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to live in poverty than whites. Women, Latinos, immigrants, indigenous people also experience increased rates of homelessness.
States play a big role in addressing poverty in the U.S., and so do jobs. And in both cases, you see lots of discrimination and uneven policies.
Indi Dutta Gupta is the co-executive director of the Georgetown Center on Poverty and Inequality. He says the rising poverty rate in America is concerning, as resources are being shifted away from the poor to benefit the rich.
We have economic inequality in the United States on basically looking at almost any indicator you can imagine.
According to recent statistics, about 41 million people live in poverty in the United States, with about 18.5 million people living in extreme poverty. The U.S. also qualifies as having one of the highest youth poverty rates of industrialized nations around the world. The current climate in the country is a reminder that the U.S. never agreed to a 1948 international law recognizing a citizen's right to health access, especially those who experience discrimination. 166 countries ratified the treaty. The U.S. has yet to sign on.
In the United States, in some ways, we have given so much flexibility and power to local and state governments in ways that have exacerbated inequities, including by race and income.
However, recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau only counts through 2016. It's still being determined how much poverty has risen since Trump-era policy reforms have taken place, threatening to leave more Americans behind. Colin Campbell, Press TV, Washington.